call the meeting to order. And the first item on our agenda tonight is the roll call. Our chair and vice chair, Noel and Barb are excused. Stephen?
Present.
Corey?
Present.
And Josh Cook is present in person. Next, I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda for this evening's meeting.
To approve the agenda.
Can we turn that up a little bit, please?
Is that on recording?
Move to approve the agenda. Are you hear me?
Or your microphone input is really, really low. Even I can't hear you.
Is that better?
It is.
Let me I'll just have to fix that. So I move to approve the agenda. I'll fix my volumes here.
Motion by Corey,
I second.
second by Stephen, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Moving on, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the October 21st, 2024 meeting.
I move to approve those minutes.
Motion by Stephen, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Corey, all in favor?
Aye.
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 The October meeting minutes are approved. Moving into our regular business, I would call appeal number 24-38, consideration with possible action on a request from Lloyd Carpenter, applicant, and Timothy Schilke of Sloco Real Estate LLC, the property owner, asking to construct a parking lot which exceeds impervious surface and perimeter landscape buffer standards for multifamily residential use within an OR office residential zoning district. And are you here on that item? I sure am. Come on up.
Right
Okay, okay.
in front of the computer.
Sir, if you could state your name.
My name is Stephen Musolowski. I work for Lloyd Carpenter, so office.
All right. It is the goal of the Board of Appeals to provide and conduct a hearing that is fair in form, appearance, and substance. To ensure that this hearing satisfies those goals, each member of the Board of Appeals, please confirm the following for this appeal by stating, "I confirm." Number one, I do not have a conflict of interest in this matter.
I confirm.
I confirm. And I have not received any communication from any person or party about this matter.
I confirm.
Confirm.
I confirm. For any person, the board will hear first from staff and then the applicant. John, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
I do.
All right, let's hear from staff first.
Thank you. So the two parts of the code that we're looking at are 44-620, table 44-6, in particular in an OR district, maximum impervious surface for a parcel is capped at 60%. The applicant is seeking 80.2% on a site plan. And then 44-1964, perimeter landscape buffer for multifamily uses when adjacent to a property used for residential purposes. The buffer shall be at least 20 feet in length. Applicant is seeking to have a buffer along the eastern part of the property line that gets down to about 3 feet at one point for width's sake, adjacent to a residential home. So this is a parcel over on 6th. As far as just giving some bearing as to where this is all at. To the north would be Greenwood Plaza, the newer car wash. To the south, you're going to see Broadway Auto, Burger King to the west, Hi-Fi Heaven. This is an old office building that is adjacent in an OR district to a residential home to the east and to the south. What is going on is the applicant is looking to do an adaptive reuse to the building. This is how the building looks like as of a few years ago from a street view. Looking to change this into 4 multifamily residential units. That is a permitted use within the OR district. Issue is you're changing uses to go from a vacant or office use into a multifamily. You need to have any sort of improvements to be up to code as far as buffers for multifamily or commercial uses against a residential property. And as you can see over here, there's a residence back over this way. This is what it looks like from the other side of the property. And the property line is just to the east of this stone retaining wall over that way. So site plans were submitted, and applicant did work with city staff to try to reduce the amount of different variances that are coming forth to still use the building footprint as is, to not tear down part of it, and to use the existing driveway entrances that come to the property. So essentially, if this driveway we're seeing here on the western part of the property, where it's located and its width, that's all good because it's adjacent to a commercial business. But back over this way to the south and to the east, you have residential properties. Not really an issue for this part of the property because you have a large hill and essentially a natural buffer that happens back this way. But over to the east, the driveway itself comes within 3 feet of the neighboring property. Now, as noted in the staff reports, this drive entrance itself, if you take into account where this, I'm gonna go back to our photos, where you have this entryway and a stairwell, and where the drive is, in comparison back over to that property, would leave with about approximately 11 feet of space between where the driveway is and the property line. To have a two-way drive, you need to have 22 feet in width to be able to access a driveway. So when staff was initially talking to the applicant about this, it was brought up like, why couldn't we have this just be a two-way drive? But unless you tore down a part of the building there, you have limited space to actually achieve a 22-foot wide driveway. So this building's been intact in this setup and scenario since the 70s, and now there looks to be a major reinvestment and improvement back into the property, as to where they are looking to essentially take the same driveway entrances that exist and repair the blacktop and pavement, which is in a bit of disrepair in the back, where it's turned into gravel in some spaces. With that turns into a reconstruction, and so it's a new site plan, and it has to get into compliance with the 20-foot buffers. So that's just coming into place on the eastern part of the property. Additionally, there's the question of impervious surface. The way the site stands at the current conditions, it's about 90% impervious, because essentially, with the exception of the small piece of grass up here in the front yard, the rest of this property, until you get to that slope back down to the edge of the property, is all blacktop or gravel, which is impervious. So they are coming forth with reduction to get it down to 80.2%, but that still exceeds what the maximum standard is for a property, and that is 60%. I'll note the site plan as far as how many parking stalls they have. For a 4-unit building, you would need to have a minimum of 5 stalls. And if I recall on this plan, it's 10 stalls is what they're looking for. So while it's double, that beats what I have. That's not exceeding what maximum standards would be for a parking lot on a site. And obviously the frontage itself, there's some parking that could occur on 6, but you need to have overnight parking, 4 stalls, and so minimum is 5, and they're looking to have 10.
Thank you. Any further questions for staff?
Can you go back to the diagram real quick?
Site plan? Yep.
Yeah. Just kind of looking at that real quick, is like the garbage can be for this in the back end there? Is that what that's kind of outlined on there on the east side of the plan?
Yeah, this is the refuse.
Yep. Okay, so the larger driveway would also be probably needed for a larger truck to get through there.
For a larger truck and for emergency access.
Yep.
Yeah, you have space for that, yes.
As well as they have enough space to turn around a larger vehicle if it has to get into the garbage cans, back in, back out, however it needs to do. So, okay.
I'm gonna just note one thing, Corey. So that you saw back in the initial photo, or the photos, that there's a retaining wall that.
Yep.
Ebb and flow around 4 feet. The applicants are looking to put on a fence both to the north and south of it in this area to act as a buffer. They're not looking to put in much landscaping, but that said, as far as counting up the amount of linear landscaping needed for the property. What they have in the rest of the property, staff felt was sufficient to meet the code, so. The fence is in place there, to act as a buffer in the areas where this, retaining wall is not in place. So staff is content with the, physical, design characteristics. It's, in this case, it's a matter of just how wide that buffer is to achieve the code stated 20 feet, and they're looking to narrow it down to 3 feet.
And just so I'm understanding the conversation about what would happen to make a two-way road. Because of this type of redevelopment, is two-way access required?
Well, if you're gonna, so staff initially, when we were looking at this without knowing just how wide this would be, or if you could tear down part of this building per se, you could have to have at least 22 feet, because if you were gonna have only one entrance. So on the eastern part of the property, in theory, you could tear down, you could take out this driveway, and then the western part of the existing building, tear down part of that western part of the building to have a two-way drive. At that point, you would meet code, but you have now torn down.
But
Part of
that, I think that's what I'm just wanting to make sure I understand is. For that entire parcel, we need 22 feet worth of ingress and egress.
You either need 22 feet for one way, or for two ways, or you need to have essentially a de facto circle drive to have one way coming in, one way going out.
So it wouldn't be feasible to just close off one of those driveways and just use the other single one-way drive.
With the existing building the way it is, no, it is not feasible.
Other questions for staff?
So on that same line, the idea of having one driveway as an in and another driveway as an out, if those were both still singles, would they still wouldn't meet code, would they?
No, the way this is right now can meet code. If this property that was to the east happened to not be residential, but it happened to be commercial or some sort of non-residential use,
Mm-hmm.
but this is aligned right now would meet code. The issue that comes into play is that for new development alongside of a residential property, there has to be a minimum of 20 to sometimes 25-foot buffer, and that includes where your driveway is at as well. So whether this was a one-way drive or a two-way drive, or accessory uses like trash collection, you have to have that 25-foot buffer, or sorry, 20-foot buffer in this case.
Okay. And they're not going to make that no matter if there's a driveway on that side, it simply isn't going to work. That's what you're saying.
I'm suggesting with the building the way that it is, no, easily there's no space
Right.
for building the way it is,
Right.
not happening.
Right. I mean, if they just repaved it the way it was exactly, they'd still be out of compliance.
Which is for, I don't say all intent, but primarily what they're doing is repaving it the way that it is. They're losing some spaces and adding in pervious surface back over just behind the building. But for all intents and purpose, they're putting in what was there and then replacing areas that happen to be a bit more dilapidated, didn't really have any true form because it turned into gravel, broken
Right.
pavement.
Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions from anybody else online? Well, with that, I think we will move next to our applicant. Please state your name and address for the record.
Stephen Wessolowski, 2052 Cottage Road, Little Swamico, Wisconsin, 54141.
And do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth?
Absolutely, I do.
Thank you, sir. What would you like us to hear this afternoon?
Well, I guess there isn't too much more to add. John done a very good job of explaining what we're kind of up against here. It has, if you've ever driven by it, I'm not sure, but it's not in the greatest of shape. So we're planning to make a major overhaul. It's kind of brought just some paper stuff here to show you the difference in the end. Just take a look at that. Kind of give you an idea of what we're looking to make it into.
Thank you. Could you hold that up for folks online so they can see that in front of you?
These might have been in the stuff that was sent out, but not sure if that
This
is.
is not part of the packet.
It was.
No, okay. So there's just some color renderings, basically updating the entire exterior of the building, all landscaping, making it into a rental property. And, like John was saying, the in and out, we're taking away a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but several areas of impervious gravel surface and that, and making them landscaped islands, greenery for the residents, just so it's not in a parking lot per se. And so this condition that it's in right now has been sitting like this since the 70s. I think I had gotten the plans for the building. It was built in 77, I believe, something like that. So everything was paved. So we're hoping that what we have put it in front of everybody here, that it's a tremendous upgrade from the existing condition. But we've got these constraints about the east property line, which we're hoping with the fence, because of the way that the retaining wall sits, the property is about 5 feet lower to the actual pavement than the grass and the stuff up above. And there are some existing mature trees along that line, that the 4-foot fence, if you're driving in and out, we do not believe, just from the trajectory of headlights and that anything's gonna affect that neighboring property. Even when it was an office use for 35 years, it's been in this condition here as far as the neighboring. And I want to say that neighboring guy business as well, business I was housing. But nonetheless, so that's our proposal. And to the south, that is a mature tree line, and it does slope down. I want to say 15 feet in the back, so we're well above anything to the south. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I'll definitely answer any questions anyone has.
I actually just had a question pop up for staff. If this site plan had the minimum required number of spots at 5, would that account for the impervious surface? Not.
We looked at that as far as I'll note the actual, if you look back to the site plan, we're getting most of that differential with the 9% is this area right here. But with the necessary turnaround area and spacing, yeah, you would lose some, but you wouldn't get down to the required amount. So the reduction now is to go from the request is from about approximately 90% to 80.2.
Sorry to go out of order there. Stephen, Corey, questions?
No.
No, I don't have any.
All right, well, at this point, if there's nothing further from staff or the applicant, we will enter into deliberations. Sir, you're certainly welcome to stay there. Got a pretty quiet agenda tonight. It's not like we've got a big audience in the back. So at this point, I would open it up for discussion.
I could take a run at the, I mean, I don't have any questions or any discussion, Corey. Corey, I don't know if you do.
I'm sitting good. So take a shot.
Okay. Is that all right with you, Josh?
Absolutely.
So we'll start with preservation of intent. We got to make sure the variance would be not inconsistent with the spirit and purpose and intent of the regulations for the districts would be requested. I do not think it is. Clearly, this building was put up in a time where our regulations were somewhat different. I don't see this as being outside of the spirit's purpose intent of it. Matter of fact, the plan does call for reduction in the how shall we say, overstepping of the boundaries that is there now in more green space. So I feel that that's taken care of. Exceptional circumstances. I think that this lot's intended use and the way it is, I don't think that it's an egregious change. I do think that the property is somewhat unique the way it was built. Obviously, it was built for 2 driveways and an in and out that way. And I think that because of the lot and the size of the building and everyone else, that this is an exceptional circumstance that I don't think can necessarily be applied to other properties in the area. Preservation of property rights, variance is necessary, preservation of enjoyment of same property rights. Yeah, I'm gonna say that that's fulfilled. I mean, without this, the plan for renovation of the building kind of comes apart. And there's no real easy way to make this happen, given the way it was constructed to begin with. Absence of detriment, I don't think this will create a detriment. This is going to take a older building in how shall we say used condition and improve the neighborhood overall in an area that's already seen a fair amount of redevelopment in terms of removing the old Sears and things like that, and kind of upgrading the look of the area with less buildings that are essentially unoccupied. So that's good. Hardship, difficulty in complying with municipal code is not self-imposed, nor is it based solely on economic grounds. I think that this fits that. I don't think that this is self-imposed. I don't think that had the owner been given the property as a blank slate, that they would have laid it out this way, right? I don't think anybody would have done it this way today, the way it was done then. So that's what I see as fulfilling the requirements for a variance.
Is that am I hearing a motion in there somewhere, Stephen?
Yeah, I will officially make a motion to approve the variance as asked.
I will second.
We have a question from staff.
Does this apply to both requests?
Yes. I would.
Yes, I was considering both requests when I was going through the numbers. Sorry, I should have said that at onset.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
And just work with John for
Yeah,
anything. that comes up.
absolutely. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Moving on in our agenda, couple items of information. Our next meeting is December 16th. And that's in the regular course of our schedule. And there seems to be an issue potentially with our scheduling for our January 2025 meeting. I believe that is on Martin Luther King Day. And City Hall is closed that day. Am I correct?
You are correct. So we don't need to make a decision on this now, but we want to let you folks know about this at the moment so we can make a decision at the December meeting. But on January 20th, City Hall is closed. That would be when our normal board meeting would be. So there are options. The first thought might have been to say move this to the next Monday on January 27th, but that happens to be a plan commission meeting. When a lot of the staff would be here, would be in this room for a plan commission meeting. So I don't find it to be feasible to move it to that date. We did that once. It was a very rushed, not particularly great experience on that one. Another possibility is to eventually move to a different day that week, say a Tuesday or Wednesday, if it happened to work with calendars. And then finally, we could just skip that month. We could just postpone it, and there'd be a long agenda in the February meeting. If we happen to know, like in a situation like this, where there's just one item, it wouldn't be a particularly large deal to put it onto the February meeting. So we can revisit this at our December meeting and make a final decision then. We're not in a hurry on it, but just wanted to put it out to folks that that will be a case here in the future.
And we should have at least some potential inkling next month. Maybe how January's.
Yeah, like I can tell you right now, we're gonna have a decent sized meeting coming up here in December from looks of it. While there's no official application that has been received yet, I think we're gonna have more than one next month. So we know that in advance, but a decent idea. And I would say what's different than say right now is when it comes to January, we're not dealing with folks who happen to get in under the gun to say, get that foundation poured just before winter season starts. You're in the middle of winter season, so we probably won't have a lot of folks who are needing to do things right that moment. So that should help out with that cause.
Any further discussion, Stephen or Corey, on the scheduling piece? We can certainly revisit again next month.
Yeah, I think we can just cover it next month. I mean, I think any of those options work.
Perfect. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We adjourned at 4:55 and let the record reflect I ran a record speed tonight.
Stand.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys. See you next month.